Hello everyone, and welcome to the Winner Circle community. I'm Dr. Sean, your host. So let's continue the conversation we've been having on how you can do well and how we can do well together. Each week we have a guest on our show who cares a lot about what's going on in our society, but who also has special expertise in the area of concern. The area of concern today is skin health. So I'm lucky and fortunate to be joined by someone who thinks about skin health all day and every day. Our new friend and colleague, Dr. Jennifer David. Dr. David, welcome to the Winner Circle.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So good that you could come on. You know, skin health, general health, achieving it is no small feat, but achieving skin health, you have to know what to do, and you have to, if you don't know what to do, you have to find somebody who knows, and that's not always easy.
No.
But I understand that you have come up with some great ways to achieve both of those issues.
Yes. So the skin is the largest organ in our body.
Okay.
And I think people take for granted how much it protects us and how much it is an indicator of our overall health and all the little things that we can do to make sure that we are generally healthy, but also that our skin is healthy. So I think having access to a dermatologist is important. So
perfect.
Yes. So
perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Well, you sound like you think about this a lot. When did it all start, and what drew you into the field of dermatology?
So I knew I wanted to be a physician since the age of 4. Yes. I loved my pediatrician.
Yes.
I enamored him, and I said, I want to be you when I grow up. And always thought I'd be a pediatrician. And then, you go to medical school, and you get to experience all the fields of medicine. And I had a liking to dermatology. I liked the fact that I could treat children and adults. So you treat patients 0 to 100. And it's never boring. So I do things like treat acne, eczema, skin cancer screenings, but also surgeries, a little cosmetics, laser, so it's never a dull moment. And I like the fact that I have long-term relationships with my patients. And I feel like if I weren't a doctor, I'd be a teacher, but I get to teach every day.
Excellent.
When I sit down with patients and I explain what their condition is and how we treat it and the whys behind our treatment plans. I feel like helps people have a better grasp on their health and more, and inspires them to be more motivated to follow through with their treatment plans. And there's a lot of instant gratification in dermatology as well, which is great. You identify an illness, you prescribe the medication, and then typically within a few weeks to a few months, you see them get better and the patients are happy. Nice.
Yeah, so I was following some of your social media posts, and I saw some pictures of rashes, and I thought, oh wow, Dr. Jennifer David, she's probably, by this time, she can look at any rash, any skin condition, and probably figure it out, or even just an image of a rash. Is that true?
That is true for the most part. Dermatology is a very visual field. So we're very fortunate to live in a time where technology allows us to communicate more efficiently and effectively through our cell phones. Our cell phones now have, 12 to 24 megapixels, and we have so I like to take advantage of that. So I have a virtual practice where patients who don't have access to a dermatologist, if they're geographically limited, they can take a picture of their condition, upload their medical history and details around their rash or their skin condition, and I can diagnose or at least guide them into the direction of this is something I can prescribe a cream for and instruct them how to use it, or say you need to find a dermatologist, and I help them navigate that process to find someone close to them.
Wow, excellent.
We are very fortunate to live in this technologically advanced world, but even in clinic, a lot of things have classic appearances. So there are many conditions that we can identify immediately, but if not, then we have things called skin biopsies, where we can get a more detailed picture of what's going on underneath the skin on a histological level to give answers that way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have a virtual presence. People can see you from different parts of the country then?
Yes, so we are limited to practice physicians. We can only practice in states where we're licensed. So I'm licensed in 4 states. So my virtual practice, I have access to patients in Texas, Florida, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. So I had a patient, we did a video visit, and she was in Texas and wanted to see a doctor of color because she had specific concerns that were regarding hyperpigmentation, which is a common condition of people of color, and that's one of my expertise. So I was able to have a video visit, discuss her concerns, formulate a treatment plan, and follow up with her in a few weeks. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I wanted to ask you about some specific conditions, but before we get into the diseases, I wanted to know, are there some things that most people can do to promote skin health?
Absolutely. I think people don't realize how little things add up to little things can add up over time to create optimal skin health. It's the little things like making sure we moisturize every day to keep our skin barrier intact, making sure you're using the correct moisturizer, because not all lotions and creams are created equal. There's certain ingredients you want to look for, like ceramides. Ceramides are the building block of retaining moisture in your skin. So you want to look at the ingredients labels. Does my lotion have a ceramide in it? And doing those little things every day add up to having optimal skin health. It doesn't have to be, paying for a procedure or things like going to the spa. It's every day after you shower, making sure you're moisturizing effectively, eating well, hydrating, drinking lots of water. All of those add up.
So what I hear you describing as the approach is similar to the approach that works for general health. It's that
Exactly.
daily health
Exactly.
practices, really.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. Have you noticed that there are some lifestyle conditions that tend to promote skin diseases that we have?
Yes, there can be. So stress is a big issue. Stress can trigger a lot of underlying skin conditions, especially autoimmune skin conditions. So if someone is prone to eczema or psoriasis, stress isn't going to cause that, but it will exacerbate it. It'll make people flare. So making sure we manage our stress more effectively. So that's where the big picture and overall health and wellness, where not only eating well, it's exercising, meditating, having positive outlets for your stress. All of those things can help decrease the number of flares that people have, and then you're not as dependent on prescriptions to maintain your disease state.
So certain foods that we can eat that promote skin health.
Yes.
Certain foods, certain types of foods.
Absolutely.
Oh, I have to know that.
Yes. So omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
So the good fats. So those are found in fatty fish like salmon and mackerel. They're found in nuts like almonds, certain foods like avocados. They're all these omega-3 fatty acids will help restore skin moisture. They also have studies that prove that fish oil specifically, so the omega-3 is found in salmon, or you can take a supplement if you don't enjoy the taste of salmon, but most people enjoy the way salmon tastes.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it does, the omega-3 fatty acids do promote, they help regulate autoimmune conditions, so they decrease inflammation in the body. So if you have psoriasis or eczema, or even just for overall heart health, because inflammation of your blood vessels can
Sure.
have long-term health effects. So making sure your diet is well balanced, but making sure you include those specific, what we call like power foods.
Excellent, excellent. I'm starting to get some ideas for what I'm going to have for dinner tonight now that you're talking.
Yes, some salmon
Yeah.
and a few vegetables. I like to tell patients to, obviously you want to eat your fruits and vegetables, focus on vegetables, but make sure the easy thing is make sure you have a variety of colors. You want to have those greens like with your kale and broccoli and spinach, and then have some reds in there with like bell peppers and things like that. So just as long as your vegetable variety is colorful, you're pretty much hitting all of the important
Awesome.
points.
I'm happy to say that these are all of my favorites too. So
Oh, good.
It's
good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now that we're moving into spring, actually we're in spring, are you starting to see a certain change in what people are asking you, certain conditions that are associated with the change of seasons like spring?
Yes, so along with the beautiful weather comes the exacerbation of allergies, seasonal allergies. So we're seeing a lot of people who have eczema. So eczema is a part of something called the atopic triad. So if you have eczema, you have a condition where your skin doesn't make as much ceramides, which I said are those building blocks of moisture in the skin. But having eczema makes you more prone to things like allergic rhinitis or seasonal allergies and or asthma. So as the seasonal allergies are kicking up, people's eczema are starting to flare. So we have to be cognizant of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the atopic dermatitis family,
Correct.
eczema and anything else we have to be concerned about? So asthma and things like that? Okay.
Yes. So, antihistamines are important. Having a diet that is rich in these anti-inflammatory foods that we mentioned can help, in addition to medications that kind of help control that histamine release.
What is it about the season? Do we know that makes eczema in these flare? Is it just the temperature? Is it the humidity? I mean, what's going on?
I think it's a lot of the pollination. So the
Okay.
plants are starting to pollinate. So this is the time where, as plants and trees pollinate, a lot of people develop allergies to them. There's something called the hygiene hypothesis. We live in such a hygienic world today where we're not facing the same amount of pathogens that our ancestors did thousands of years ago, that our immune system starts to react to things that aren't dangerous. So people develop, so your immune system, instead of having to fight, pathogens in our water and our daily environment, they start to recognize things that aren't dangerous as dangerous, and then our body reacts to them. So that's kind of how allergies work on a very rudimentary level. It's a little more complicated than that, but in layman's terms, so that's kind of what happens. So.
Okay. So now, I think we'll take a short break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask you the big question.
Okay. All right.
We'll take a break and we'll come back. Join us then, gang. Hang in there.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Winner Circle community here. We're joined by our guest, Dr. Jennifer David. Dr. David, before the break, I was wondering, practicing medicine, people come up to you and ask you questions once they find out that you're a doctor. So when they find out that you're a dermatologist, what's the most sort of common question they ask you?
Oh, that's a good one. I think most of the time it's people concerned about a certain spot or a lesion. They'll say, oh, can you take a look at this spot? Is it okay? That's the most common one. And I think the second most common one is sunscreen really important? And I reassure them, yes, we have to wear sunscreen. We have to protect our skin from UV radiation. And also, is sunscreen important in people of color? So I have a lot of my brown skin patients say, doctor, I really need sunscreen? And the newer studies are yes. Brown skin needs sunscreen too. We can get skin cancers. They're not as common, but they're often diagnosed later in life. And because of that, we have a disproportionately high mortality rate. So it's those two things. Can you look at the spot, and is sunscreen important?
I see, and I can imagine some of my relatives looking at things and saying, well, we don't get cancer, so I'm not going to worry about that.
Exactly, and that's not the case. So it's important to come in once a year for a skin cancer screening exam. When I have patients in my office, I look from head to toe. I look through your scalp, I look in your ears, look in your mouth, and all the way down to between the toes. When patients say like, oh, doctor, I really need to take off my socks and shoes, I say, yes, Bob Marley died of melanoma on his toe.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so I look everywhere. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and when we see things early, we can catch them, and they're very treatable.
No doubt, no doubt. So now, I have to ask you this big question, because if I go through this and my wife watches this show and I don't ask about wrinkles and how we can prevent wrinkles, I'll be in big trouble. So what is the answer to wrinkles?
Yes. So there's not one answer, right,
Okay.
other than sunscreen. And I feel like we've, I feel like I've communicated the importance of
You
sunscreen.
did.
So that's the foundation.
Okay.
But there are a few things. I think we overcomplicate things, and it's very overwhelming going to the beauty aisle of any drugstore, or even like the stores like Sephora or Ulta, and you're just overwhelmed by the plethora of options and choices. But it comes down to a good cleanser, something that will clean your skin and hydrate, a good moisturizer, and then vitamin C, a topical vitamin C in the morning and a retinoid at night. Those are the basics, and sunscreen. So there's only 4 things you really need. Good cleanser, good moisturizer, and a vitamin C in the morning. Vitamin C is a natural antioxidant, so it will reverse a lot of the oxidative stress we get, not only from the sun, but living in a city, we're exposed to a lot of pollutants. So it will reverse the damage that can happen on your skin cells from there. And it brightens the skin, so it helps even skin tone. And retinoids are applied at nighttime, and they help stimulate collagen. So that is one of the only topical creams out there that can stimulate collagen. So that helps repair fine lines and wrinkles and helps prevent them as well.
Okay, now, are there any particular topics, not topics, but particular brands that you're comfortable to describe?
So I talk about the highs and lows. So when
Okay.
it comes to, there are things called medical grade skincare products, which are probably a little bit more expensive, but they're formulated a little bit more elegantly, they're more potent. They actually do research studies behind them to back up the claims, because it's a little tricky when you get into what we call the cosmeceutical world. It's not regulated by the FDA, so they'll say like decreases the appearance of. So they have ways of navigating the language to where technically they're not claiming a medical fact, but patients aren't aware of those nuances.
Right.
So I say combining highs, which is like those medical grade products, with like things that you can find over the counter. Like I like CeraVe and Cetaphil as great cleansers and moisturizers. Fairly inexpensive. I combine those with either prescription strength retinoids if a patient prefers, or a vitamin C cream that is a little bit more higher end. So it doesn't have to be that everything in your regimen is expensive to work. It's a good combination.
Okay. So now these are some pretty high-end terms that you're using. And if people are connected to you and they're following you, can they find those on your website or links to those types of topics?
Yes, so I have, my website is www.skinandscripts.com. So that's my virtual practice where I like to provide patient information. You have options of scheduling a video consult with me, and a lot of my video consults are talking about patients and their specific skin concerns, finding out their skin type, and giving personalized recommendations. It's really hard to sit here and say, okay, these are the brands that you should use.
Yes.
Because there are so many options, and what works for one person might not work for someone else. So it depends on your skin type and your specific concerns.
Makes sense.
Yes. But on my website, I have information and.
Okay. And I did check out your website, and I must say I liked the navigation of it. I found it very easy. Even though I was just looking and checking it out, I felt like, okay, I could make an appointment right now, you know, because it was just so easy that it was inviting to make an appointment.
Oh,
So
well, thank you.
From a patient experience standpoint, it really takes you in.
Yes,
So very
thank you.
nice. So are there any other places that people can follow you, find you? Do you do some public education on your websites? Let's say Instagram or these?
Yes, so
social
I'm very
media?
active on social media. I think it's a fun platform. That's where the attention is,
Yeah.
especially with the younger generations, to educate on the importance of sunscreens and skin checks and things like that. So I'm very active on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Jennifer David. And TikTok, same, at Dr. Jennifer David. I have a creative side, so I like to not only provide educational information, but make it fun and a little entertaining as well.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, you're the expert here, and it's obvious. I mean, you know, I realized that I didn't know anything about skin just listening to my daughter and my wife. One time I told them that I use the same lotion for my face as I do my body, and they were like looking at me like I was a caveman, you know? It was so embarrassing. So I'd like to invite you to close out the show with a healthy skin promotional message. You have the floor.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Jennifer David. I'm a board-certified dermatologist, and if you have any specific questions or concerns about your skin type or building a skincare regimen, you can find me at www.skinandscripts.com. If you live in the Philadelphia area, I do see patients in person, and I work with the PA dermatology group, so you can find me online there to schedule a visit. And my closing message would be that skincare doesn't have to be complicated, and good skincare is not a luxury, it's a necessity. So it's all the little things that we do every day that can add up to optimal skin health. So making sure that you moisturize every day, use a gentle cleanser, and apply that sunscreen.
Yeah, it does help to have somebody who can demystify all
Yes,
of this.
it's not that
you know, 'cause
complicated.
most of us are just like eating and doing what we're doing, and then we get the skin we get, and then we're like, okay, I'll just have to live with this.
Yes, yes. No, you.
I really appreciated your coming on to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
And maybe in the future, we can talk about especially how men, we neglect
Yes.
ourselves and we don't know what's
Yes.
going on.
Yes, I would love to come back because there are certain moisturizers and lotions that are good to use head to toe, but some that are not. So we could talk about the details, and the devil is in the details. So we could talk about specific brands, specific habits, and how to put together a very low maintenance skincare regimen for men that make it easy but effective at the same time.
There
So
you
let's
go.
do it.
That's awesome. That's perfect. I love that for myself. So thanks for joining us here in the Winter Circle today. That was wonderful information, a lot of information about how we can take care of ourselves, how we can take care of our skin, how we can promote our own health. So you can look for this message next week, Monday, 2 o'clock p.m., Tuesday, 6 o'clock p.m., or wherever you're finding this message. Make sure you follow us. We'll be doing a lot of good things here in the Winter Circle. We'll have this message on a podcast, a pure audio podcast as well. And we'll be having a social media platform coming as well. So look for us. And until then, guys, keep winning. Take care. Have a great weekend. Cool.